Welcome to Your School Journey, where we dive into the topics that matter in education today. We're here to help parents understand the conversations happening in schools and offer tips to support your child's learning along the way.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Your School Journey. Today we're joined by Tom Cullen, the Dean of Student Futures at Emmanuel College. Great to have you here, Tom.
G'day, Mel. Thanks for bringing us in.
So, Tom, you're the Dean of Student Futures, and often those go by other titles like a student advisor or a guidance counsellor, all sorts of different names. And often, I guess, people don't know what's the role of a guidance counsellor, how does it all work, and particularly, how does it work right now when the world is changing so rapidly?
Yeah, thanks, Mel. Yeah, it's Dean of Student Futures. It sounds fantastic, and it is a great role to be in. I guess it's sort of changed the nature of where the space is from just being the careers advisor role to really reflecting that now the focus is building student futures. It's not so much looking at the linear progression of study to work, but looking at how the role can help support building students' careers and their capabilities within the workforce.
So I guess you're saying that the conversation has changed over time from, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up, to something different? Is that the kind of vibe that we're getting?
Yeah, very much so. So not long ago, careers were sort of seen as a very pick a job, write a resume, choose a university course. It was very linear, step-by-step process. But today, as we sort of know, jobs are changing fast. So the role of the careers advisor is sort of reflected on that one. And now I guess careers education is more about stories. We're supportive listeners with our students. We advocate for the students to help them to research, to network, to work through the different choices. Basically, we're like their biggest cheerleader.
So what kind of experiences do you create for students to kind of get them moving in the direction that they need to make some kind of choices about their career paths?
Yeah. A big part of our sort of role is to help students develop skills for being able to take control of their own future. And it sort of sounds easy, but it's a slow burn. It's a long process, helping students to build the confidence to be able to adapt, pivot, grow. And we're not just talking about what sort of jobs they can sort of lead into, but it's more about taking and helping guide students with their purpose and where what they want to sort of see that their growth of their own personality go to.
I imagine you've got a range of students as well across a spectrum where you may have some students that are really ready. I know what I want to do. I'm going to be a fighter pilot or what have you. And then you have other students at the other end of the spectrum that are kind of like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'll make a decision when I leave year 12 and see what happens. And how do you kind of manage the vast variety of students and try and help them to move in some kind of a direction for their future?
Yeah, it can be fast and easy sometimes. And for other particular cases, it's something that is definitely a whole work in progress. So looking at how to help support students, and I guess the biggest thing is we want to help students to find what their passion is. And let's be honest, finding a passion sounds like it's a big dramatic moment, but for most kids, it's not like a lightning bolt that comes out of nowhere. It's a really slow burn. And as teachers, as educators, as parents, our role isn't to hand them the sort of map. It's to walk beside them while they sort of explore and test out different areas, guiding that curiosity, promoting the curiosity, play, experiment, try lots of different sports, learn about music, volunteering, different sort of junctions that they can sort of build themselves with, so they can build that capacity and build their knowledge about what sort of different areas work for them and what passions can sort of grow from those different areas. So really building the open-ended questions is where we can help support our students. What do they enjoy most? What makes them feel proud? What would they love to try next? And often even just modeling some of those passions that we have as adults and helping our students see what passion can sort of lead to with regards to like a happy and fulfilling life.
Cool. So we've got traditional pathways that most people would understand. You know, most parents out there would go, well, you go to school and then after school you've got post-secondary education. You might go to university or you might go to a TAFE college, or there might be some other things. I imagine that there are a lot of changes that are afoot, that there's things that are different now, and maybe there's way more options. What has changed in the career space since you've been working in it?
That's a great question to spend some time on. Definitely the traditional pathway still works for many students and for many cases. But today there's a growing number of non-traditional pathways which are opening doors and exciting, flexible sort of ways. So I'll try to break it down a little bit for us. Across Queensland, ATAR is the main sort of pathway into the university sort of segues, but 50% of students don't do an ATAR course. So I think there's often a misconception from parents that ATAR is the only way for further studies. And so we need to really put some focus into that one and build that sort of knowledge base that ATAR is one way, and it's quite often the traditional and suited for many students. But more and more we see vocational education and training through TAFE courses, diplomas, certificate courses, taking a really pivotal role in allowing students to build that gap or to make that transition from their school studies into university pathways. So the university pathways now are really well supported for a range of students from different backgrounds, from different skill levels. It is definitely not just an ATAR pathway. And I think looking at that and how students are choosing their subjects in their senior years, it's important to consider all of that and not just get into the trap of pigeonholing our students into the academic routes, but also really learning and knowing where some of these certificate and vocational pathways can sort of open up doors leading for further on. So I guess the awareness that things have changed since you and I were going through school. The OP system is well and truly long gone. It's important to try to put some time into learning what the new ATAR system looks like, but also universities are working really hard to make sure that they are being accessible and open to as many different student backgrounds and making sure that everyone has got the opportunity for further and higher level studies.
Excellent. So being in education myself for quite some time, I know at year 11 and 12, it's the pointy end and a lot of conversation goes on about careers and pathways, and there's plenty of meetings among year 12 students to look at different universities, and all sorts of conversations are happening there. But I really wonder, Tom, what would be the time that maybe as a parent you would want to start talking to your child about their future, about their passions?
I think, Mel, there's no hard and fast answer for this one, but working with the appreciation that it's not one conversation. When working with your child and when talking about futures and interests and skills and keeping that communication open really is the sort of way to go. So it's really nurturing that growth and taking time to build the awareness of who they are and what they like and how they sort of learn best. Something that I've sort of found relatively new within the careers space. The challenge mindset was sort of created by JP Michel, who's a Canadian psychologist. And he sort of talks about changing the focus from, rather than having the conversation about what do you want to be when you grow up, but really turning the focus to what is the challenge that you want to be part of solving. What I really value about it is that at every point of the process, that challenge is something that is owned and is sort of central to the values and the strengths of the individual that we're sort of working with. So the way it sort of works is if a student is particularly interested in looking at how to maintain a clean ocean or to make sure that there's less poverty within the world, identifying what that sort of challenge is and then starting to work backwards and looking at where are the companies like in that space. Are there any companies that are working with cleaning up the ocean, or are there any companies working to improve food accessibility? And then looking at those companies and then breaking down who are those companies giving their jobs to, what skills and what resources are the companies bringing in, and then from those people that are working within those companies, what study options and what skills do those individuals have, and then sort of backtracking. So from start to finish, the whole process still has that central challenge within it. It's just exciting to work with students and sort of let them discover how they can see themselves be part of that future, and learn about the different options that they have to sort of work towards a brighter future.
Wow, that's a really good aspect, because it brings in that idea of purpose. It brings in that idea of, hey, well, what's my life's purpose? And then draws something out of that. That's great, Tom. I'm curious to know if today's employers align with that type of perspective in terms of, are they still looking for a particular set of skills in their employees, or are there other things that they're looking for now as well?
Yeah, very much so. So within the job market, the skills focus is very much there for the initial couple of years within the job. And I think having the right skills for the job is always going to be pivotal to being successful. But more and more we're sort of seeing for the further progression within different roles, that's where the softer skills come really into play. And the ability for students and for people to be recognizing that lifelong learning is the sort of norm. It's not just a matter of getting a degree and going to do your job, but that continual building of yourself, whether it's digital literacy, whether it's building teamwork. But those secondary skills or the soft skills often are what sort of helps careers develop further from that initial early career point. We're also starting to see that reflected in where the universities are moving with their programs. Recently, the focus on developing practical skills has been a bit of a trend that's been noticeable between many of the universities, and they're really bringing experience options and practical trips into the forefront of their programs to make sure that students are sort of graduating with more than just the straight theory components, but also have got a bit of hard skills to support their learning too. So I think within the workplace, the recognition for the initial skills is sort of there, but the value of being able to transition between different roles, to work with multiple people, to have good communication, those softer skills are hugely needed too.
Speaking about certain skills, have you come across any examples where students have been maybe concerned about things like AI taking their jobs?
Yeah, it seems to be a hot topic at the moment, doesn't it?
Mm.
I think at the end of the day, AI is a tool that we need to bring in. It's changing the way things work at a super speed, but at some point, someone still needs to be able to direct and learn how to use the AI to their needs. So it's more of building the confidence to know that it's more adapting to the new technologies rather than being afraid and worried that that's sort of going to cut into that market.
Do you find that there are any careers or pathways that are becoming more popular and some that are becoming less popular as you've been working with students?
Over the last couple of years, there's definitely been continued growth within the healthcare sector, and that's not going to go anywhere soon. Education is also a big area, and I think that's reflected in the sort of need for those different areas and our aging populations in some spaces. One of the things I have noticed over the last couple of years is a lot of the students are really liking the idea of having a bit of a gap year between finishing school and going into the next stage. I think that they know and they feel confident that they want to continue further studies, but quite often just want to press pause for a short time, take stock. And I think part of that is sometimes because there is so many options and so many choices, sometimes to make a decision could be a little bit stifling and they get sort of stuck within that. So there's a bit of fatigue still after 12 years of school, but also just building the knowledge of what their choices are and sifting through what can be a daunting range of prospects and sort of having the confidence to take that next step. And I guess that's we're working within the careers space. We're continually trying to support and build that confidence.
So you mentioned taking a gap year. I've always actually been curious about that one because I wondered what are the risks for you as a student? Is it something where you have to apply for the university and they save you a spot, or TAFE colleges or whatever? Is it hard for them to kind of start again when they finish the gap year? I can see all the advantages of a gap year, but I'm just curious about a couple of those things.
Yeah, no, very much so. And there is the awareness that you kind of lose that forward momentum if you do sort of step back. So generally, my sort of rule of thumb with working with families and students is, if there is the consideration for a gap year or a bit of a break, I like to support the idea of applying and potentially deferring that program. So there is a bit of a keel to that gap year time and a bit of a destination or a bit of an endpoint to it without it being open-ended. But that's a bit of a personal preference. One of the key things for as a parent and as a dad myself is just to make sure that there's continual forward momentum in whatever shape that is. And further study is just one pathway after year 12. But as long as we're doing something to continue to develop ourselves, whether it's skills in the workforce or further study skills or traveling and sort of seeing the world, as long as that time is not just idle time where we're kind of not making any sort of progress, I think that's the danger, where that gap year space can not be that potential. But if used well, it's an amazing opportunity to develop some new skills and have an amazing time.
Sounds very exciting. I think we'd all love to take a gap year ourselves, to be perfectly honest. So it's making me excited. I'd like to take one next year, but I don't think that'll be happening. So, Tom, this has been a great conversation. We've kind of meandered around through different pathways and different ideas about where students can take their world, take their lives. And so I'm very curious, if I was a year 10 student right now and I'm about to make some subject choices, about to go into year 11 and 12, and I want some advice from my parents. I want some kind of direction as to what I should do. What kind of advice would you give them?
From the parents' point of view, I think we have to take the role of being the listeners. It's our job to support and be there and guide, but it's not our job to drive. So I think start by listening without judging. Ask what excites your child. What kind of environment do they want to see themselves in? What do they want to test out and try? Help them to try to see that success isn't just a one size fits all. It's about finding a path that aligns with your strengths, with your values, with your goals. And don't ever forget that every pathway is valid, whether it's a degree, a diploma, a startup or skill building course. What matters most is that your child feels the sort of strength and has the ability to choose. They're supported in their growth, encouraged to adapt and strap in tight, because it's an amazing journey to be part of.
That's so great, Tom. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think my one takeaway would be also asking your child, hey, what purpose do you want to have? Well, what problem do you want to solve in this world? And go after those things that will actually align with helping to solve those problems.
Thanks, Mel. Yeah, no, it's been great having a chance to talk.
Your School Journey is an initiative of Emmanuel College as part of our commitment to partner with parents in shaping the learning and growth of young people. This podcast is hosted by Mal Gaylor with audio production by John Eddy and executive produced by Dan Pearson. If you found this episode valuable, we'd love you to share it with other parents, subscribe for future episodes, and leave a review. You can also connect with us for more insights into education and to explore how Emmanuel College can support your child's learning journey.